Let's just start this whole thing off with stats. Let's go for the stats that I know to be true about alcohol to begin with. This is so interesting. You know, when we were kids, I was fed this program of alcohol and tobacco are good for you, right? So when I was a kid, we would go and in Kansas City, I lived in Kansas, and we were able to, because of the farming in the area, the agriculture, we were able to get provisionary license. They look like a license when you were 14 because kids had to drive tractors. So I was able to get this provisionary license. And in the state of Missouri, which I lived on the state line, you were able to cross over that state line. We had mopeds, and I would roll over there, and you had this ID. Well, it looked like a license. And so at 14, you were able to just sort of flash that license, and they just give you cigarettes. You just buy them. So, you know, why did I do that? Well, probably because every single commercial that I saw had, you know, my favorite athletes attached to cigarettes and alcohol, and they were not using the cigarettes and alcohol. It's such an interesting dynamic looking back at how I was raised and what was fed to me through marketing. Now that I work in marketing, have a successful career in marketing, the ethical challenges that exist are different than they once were, but they're still there. Today, it's a completely different story, and I won't get into that right now. But back in the day, especially when I was in my, early teens, I was fed this. Some of my favorite baseball players, were just attached to every beer commercial you could imagine, and there wasn't a thought of going to a sporting event without alcohol. That would have been ridiculous, and it kind of still is today. But it's so ironic, isn't it? That the people that are using the alcohol and the tobacco are not the people that are performing at a high level. It's impossible to perform at a high level and be addicted to drugs and alcohol and tobacco. It's impossible. You can't. And I say drugs because alcohol, and this is where I wanted to get to the stats. Alcohol, David Nutt, there was a guy, his name's David Nutt, was hired by the British government to play. Why do I laugh at stuff like that? I'm like so childish, seriously. Like, I still have that sense of humor. It's a thing. David Nutt was hired by the British government to take place in a harm score of the 20 most addictive drugs in the world. And do you know where alcohol ranked? Alcohol was number one, causing the most harm. Did you know that nearly 33% of all traffic fatalities include alcohol? Around 11,000 in the U.S. alone a year. That's incredible to me. 85,000 Americans and over 3 million people worldwide will die this year due to alcohol-related causes. Yet we use it, yet we promote it, yet there's just this little disclosure at the bottom that says, Surgeon General warning, this product may cause cancer. Great. That doesn't say, hey, Surgeon General warning, this product could cause you to go off the rails, lose your family, lose your job, lose your health, lose your freedom, and ultimately end up killing you. That just failed to be mentioned in the Surgeon General's warning. They just failed to mention that. And they also fed it to me when I was a kid, which is what I'm getting back to. When I was a kid, I was told alcohol is a good thing, and I was told drugs are bad. Dare to keep kids off drugs. Interesting campaign back in the day, but they never once mentioned alcohol. Never once mentioned that alcohol is a problem. And why is that? Probably because big tobacco, big alcohol companies, they fund the program. So again, it's just more lies, more deception that we are all a part of and have been a part of for generations. With the advent of social media, with the advent of YouTube, and this is one of the things I feel is a positive direction that social media and YouTube and freedom of speech has given us a platform to be able to expose some of these truths. It's my wish that the messages that I share with you and the people out there that are younger, hopefully, will listen to my message and understand that whatever they're being told is cool through the media, through the news outlets, It's a fad. And 99% of the time, it's not going to benefit you. It's marketing. It's straight up marketing. It's a ploy. It wants you involved. It wants you in its products. It wants you paying. It wants you to be a consumer. So instead of being a consumer, do your research and do what's good for you. You need to fuel your body with positive foods, positive nutrients, positive resources. You need to surround yourself with as many positive people as you can. And you need to understand that this life is going to be very difficult. And the media and the big tobacco, big alcohol, these companies out there, what they want is they want to get their hooks into you. And so there's a mental toughness that you have to have, a rough skin that you need to develop that stops those ads from coming in. And it's so difficult because there's so much of it on social media. There's so much of it everywhere. But I urge you, as a young person or anyone out there, even if you're, my age, older, and you've decided, I can't believe I've done this long. It's never too late to stop the cycle of the media's causing addiction in our lives. There's never a time that it's too late to stop and say, wait a second, I've been totally lied to. I don't need to drink those two tall boys at a basketball game just to enjoy myself. But so many people think that that's a part of it. I have been to so many college football games, and I cannot believe the drunken stupidity and buffoonery that happens. You make an idiot out of yourself. You look like an idiot when you do the things that you do. You think it's funny at the time. And then when you wake up, alcohol is such a dangerous drug that it makes you kind of forget that you even did it and not really care. Imagine that. What do we have in this life that's so important? What's the most important thing in this life that we build on our own, that we control? What do we, as men and women out there, what do we control? Can anyone think of what that might be? Deeply think. It's our reputation. Our reputation is everything. You can't fix a totally tarnished reputation. But so many people have no value on reputation anymore. It's like they don't care about their reputation. Why? I don't know. I don't know what's happening. Again, I think that has to do with the media feeding us all this content that tells us to be kind to everyone, to love everyone. Well, guess what? You're not going to always love everyone, and you're not ever going to be somebody when you speak in public. I was listening to Jordan Peterson the other day. You're not going to not offend someone in a crowd. Typically, even in a one-on-one conversation, you're commonly going to offend that person in some way, shape, or form because not all of our viewpoints align. But today, in today's world, we are supposed to have our viewpoint not offend anyone at all. And if it does, you're in big trouble. That's absurd. That is right there the beginning of socialism, the beginning of Marxism. That is the dangerous stuff that Jordan Peterson is talking about. And I completely agree with him. 100%. There's no doubt about it. The man knows his stuff. I personally am still pissed at the big alcohol and tobacco companies that have forced this down our throats, and I'm super happy to see that they are suffering. I don't take joy in human beings suffering, but when I see a company that has killed so many people, companies like Bud Light, going downhill because of their inability to control their marketing and skewing it toward a very minority group of people, I'm joyful. I'm happy because that product kills people. That product kills people's children on the road. That product puts a parent in a situation that they can no longer care for their child. The recovery industry. So the recovery industry is a $42 billion a year industry. I'm going to give you some more stats because this is really interesting. I have to put my glasses on because, well, I'm old now, so just deal with it. Listen to this, this stat. 5% of people will make it to 90 days of sobriety. Of those, only 5% will make it to 2 years. This means 2.5 people out of 1,000 will make it to 2 years of sobriety, which means I'm shocked that I've made it to almost 8 years now. This means 2.5 out of 1,000 people will make it to 2 years of sobriety. So what this is when people can't recover, it means that they've got them. They've got you. My ultimate goal in this messaging and what I'm putting out here right now is that I really want young people out there to understand that once you're in and once you've bought into it and you're partying and you're drinking and you're saying, I love getting wasted, once you've gone there, they've got their hooks in you. And you know what? Those hooks run deep. They are embedded in your flesh. They are in there and they are just grabbing you. And you're not going to get away from it. It's not going to be easy. Because once they're in, it's going to take a hell of a lot of help to get those hooks out. So if you can stay away from it to begin with, if you can resist the temptation to drink that first drink, to smoke that first joint, to take that first line of cocaine, if you can stop yourself and you can say, this is not for me, your life is going to be a lot better and you're going to be a much more successful person. You're going to be a much happier person as you grow older. If you get wrapped up in this, it's going to take time away from your life. Time away from your life that you could be having success, that you could be building upon those dreams you had when you were young. But if you don't, and you decide to let those hooks get sunk into you, it's going to take time and it's going to cost money. Money that you could have been putting into business ventures, money that you could have been putting into a family, money that you could have been saving, money that you could have, bought the things that you wanted to buy with, but instead you're paying $10,000 to get out of a DUI. You're paying child support because you couldn't keep your life together with your wife. That's what happens to people that are alcoholics and drug addicts. Their lives crumble, they fall apart, and they live with regret, resentment, self-hatred, low self-esteem the rest of their lives. And you know what they do to try to feel better? They use more of the drug because that's what it does to you, and that's why the marketing works. Because once they get their hooks in you, it's over. It's over. What did the stats say? 85% don't recover. That's a lot of people. That's a good business to be in if you want to make money. That's a good business to be in if you're the devil. It makes sense, doesn't it? When you put it that way. So really, what is big alcohol and big tobacco companies? Who are they? Who actually runs that? It seems to me that it's a body collector. Just a collection of bodies and souls. That's how I view it. And maybe that would help people out there to understand or to consider that viewpoint that I have. That big alcohol and big tobacco are just body collectors. They're out there collecting those bodies. And they're grinding them into what they want them to be. They're molding them into Satan's helpers to go out there and recruit more people. Come party with me. Let's go drink. Let's go to a bar. Let's get wasted. Everywhere we go, we've got to get wasted. Yeah? How often does that happen? I mean, for me, when I was younger, it was constant. Everywhere we went, if alcohol wasn't a part of the party, there wasn't a party. So why is that? Why can't you have a party without alcohol? Because once you're in bed with the devil, there is no party without booze. Once you've gone to that state of mind, and the people that you keep company with are in that state of mind, there's no stepping out of it. You have to really break free. And when you break free, guess what? You got no friends. There's nobody around. And that's the hard part. It's so easy to run back. It's so easy to say, I want to feel comfortable again. I want to have fun because it's fun. While you're doing it, there's an excitement. You know how it is. If you've been out there and you've done it, it's exciting to go out to a bar and get drunk and have fun and talk and become a totally different person and forget about all your troubles and all your worries and all your cares. They all go away. They all go away. But then what? In that morning, that instance where you wake up and you're like, oh, God, what happened? Where? That moment where you wake up and you say, I'm never doing that again. And then the next night you're like, well, maybe, because your body's recovered. The devil comes back in and he goes, wait a second, those hooks are there. And he grabs a hold of those handles on those hooks and just squeezes and just pulls you back over to that bar. He pulls you back over to that cocktail. He's, drink it, do it, let's have some fun. And that's what happens when I am going to relapse. I become very, very distant, very despondent. And I relapse far before I would ever actually take the drink. And I start thinking in a different way. And I believe that thinking is the cause of someone else, something in another world, not of this world, pulling me, saying, come on, let's do this. And then you got the marketing, and all of a sudden I start paying attention to the marketing again. Look at the booze ads, look at this, look at that. Wow. Got to fight it. And that's why when I mention when you're young, if you can stay away from that, you won't attach yourself to that feeling. You won't let it in. And if you don't let it in, you're going to be a lot happier. And that's the point of this video. That really is why I'm here talking to you. That really is what I'm trying to get across. Help yourself by staying away from drugs and alcohol. None of them will ever do you any good in your life. I've never heard someone say, boy, alcohol sure helped me out. I attribute my wonderful life today to alcohol and cigarettes. Never heard someone say it. And if they do, they're a fool, and you know it.